all along, what we've been doing is accessing the GitHub repository, but we use our username and token. And it seems that every time we want to access this repo, we will have to use our username and token. It's not good for automation because then you have to leave your password somewhere in a script that will do that. So what GitHub has is a tool that will use SSH, which is you're coming into the GitHub server through port 22. This here is using port 80. Everything you're doing here is port 80. Okay, so if you look at it, the protocol being used is HTTPS, which is port 443 actually. But GitHub allows you to use port SSH to also clone and access your repository. So instead of port 443, you can use port 22, okay, to come in and update, remove, add, all of those things. But you need to configure your system, your GitHub, your local GitHub, to say, whenever I say git push, don't use the SSH, don't use the port HTTPS, use SSH. And if you want to use SSH, then SSH only works with a key and a public key and a private key, which I was going to teach later. But for now, just understand that you need the key. SSH needs a key pair. Okay. So what you do is you go to your repository and then you go to settings. You go to deploy keys, and then you add a deploy key. So this way you're saying that this is the key that I will be using. This is the public key. No, the lock. You put the lock here, the lock for the key. Every key has a lock. Remember, every key has a lock. If you have a key in your pocket and that key doesn't have a lock on any door, the key is useless. So the key that we created in the EC2, the key that AWS gave us, has a lock, and the lock is here. They put the lock here, which is a public key called a public key. I call it the lock.
Then I think there is something you're doing that we can't see.
Sorry?
I think there's something you're doing that we can't see. I think what you're doing,
what can you see? What can you see now? What can you see now?
GitHub with general. The cursor is on settings.
Yeah.
How about now? What can you see now?
Still can't see.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yes.
I just stopped sharing and shared again. What's going on here? How about now?
Still not an empty screen.
Right, let me leave and join back. Okay, I'm back. So let me start recording again. Oh, the recording is still going. Good. Let me share my screen again. How about now?
Something.
Nothing.
Can't see it.
What?
I don't know. Let me share my screen and see if you can see something.
Yeah.
Damn. How we can see yours?
Okay,
Oh,
then
the
we'll
guy
try
deployed
sharing.
he deployed the application thing magic. Stupid boy. He stole my code. Okay, let me share again.
Still nothing.
The people have come to the Abbey phone. They have come. Yeah. The witches and the wizards. They are here. Making sure that this thing
Doesn't go in.
Actually, your screen, you are sharing something, but you're not sharing the content we want to see.
What can you see?
I think the team's focus is on the speaker, yourself. I don't know.
No, what can you see?
So we can see your team's avatar.
That's all.
Yes.
But I'm not sharing Teams. Can you? Is it gone now?
Yes, it's gone.
How about now?
And now we can see an empty screen that you are sharing.
I think it is coming now. Take like, but it's different like from before.
So what can you see now?
Just an empty screen.
Wow.
This time, you are sharing a white background. I don't know what it is.
Right. I'll see you in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right, I'm back. Let me see again. Okay, how about now?
Perfect. Oh, it is working. You can see your
Terminal.
it's
Okay.
coming up.
Yes, we can see your terminal now.
So I'm going to just stop sharing. Oh, let's continue. I can edit the video. Right. So now I'm in this machine. Yeah. I'm going to get out of this machine. And when I go in, I'm using SSH. Yeah. I'm using SSH. And as I was talking about the lock, every machine has a lock and a key. Every house has a door. The door has a lock. Let's say the door will be the port, one of the ports. We can't use that. But the door has a lock, and each lock will have a specific key. Sometimes some locks has more than one key, but because you can copy it and stuff. You shouldn't copy keys and give it to your girlfriend. So let's go and find the lock, cd.ssh. So there's a folder called .ssh in your home folder, and there is where the lock file is. This is the lock. So if you cut this lock, this is the lock for the key, the personalized one. So this key that I'm using to come, yeah, it checks this one. So SSH will look at this file and see that, oh, so this is the public key and this is the private key. The content of both of them are completely different. So if I go to the Cloud9 and I cut the content of that one, so cut coupons, see, this is a private key and the public key is in this server. If I remove this public key from here, this private key is useless, because what you've done is you've removed the lock. You have a key and the lock has been removed. Okay, so if I can delete this from this file, and that means that you can't come in. Okay, so what you do is when you're creating an EC2 instance, AWS creates the key for you and says, can you copy the key and put it in your pocket? And it puts the lock for that key in the server for you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to use a tool called OpenSSL. That's what the tool, that is the locksmith, the tool that creates locks and keys. We're going to use it to create a lock and a key to be used for GitHub for this machine. Okay, so we're going to create one. CD. What you normally do is if you want to create a lock and a key, it's good to put it in the .ssh folder. That's where all the locks and keys are. So I go to cd.ssh ls, and there's only a file for all the locks. This file is authorized keys, is where you put all the locks. So I can ask you to create one and give it to me. You can come to my machine. Okay, so for practice purposes, if I want people to come into this machine, follow this. That's what I'm doing now. Okay, and again, Google is what I will use. I'm not that good that I'll keep all of this in my head, but I know what I want to do. So I say how command to create SSH key. Yeah, you have to Linux. Let's say Ubuntu. I need to be specific a little bit. Ubuntu. Yeah, and there's a lot of documentation for how to create SSH keys. Okay. Boom. SSH key gen is the one you need, and it's interactive, so it will then, and I think this program is already installed because we have the SSH client, or we've been able to access the SSH folder. So if not, you have to probably sometimes, if it's not there, you have to install the SSH client application. So I go there. Everybody do this in your machine, your EC2 machine. Yeah, do it in your EC2 machine. EC2, not the Cloud9. Connect to your EC2 and do this. Okay. So I'm already connected to my EC2. I've gone into my .ssh folder in the home Ubuntu folder. So if I do pwd, I'm in home ubuntu.ssh. Yeah. And I'll run this here, SSH key gen. Okay. And they start asking me questions. I'm creating a public and a private key. That is the the ED25. Remember when we were creating EC2, AWS gave us options to create a specific type of key, and I said select the ED2519. This is the new type of key that has come up. Before we were using the other one. So it's saying that the default location that he's going to put the key is here. But you want to, if you want to name it differently, you can name it differently. So I want to name it this, personalized greetings get key. Okay. So I say I want to name it personalized greetings dash get dash key. Yeah. And then I'll enter. It says enter a key phrase. Sometimes you can actually lock this lock. So anybody who wants to use it will have to put a password. If I want to run SSH with this key, do I want to type a password first? No, but some people do. But this one, I'm going to use it to do GitHub automation. So I'm not going to complicate things. I'll just not type any password. I'll just enter. It's saying password, enter, and voila, it's gone in and created the key for you. So if you ls-alt, you see that there are two files here. One is the public key, which is the lock. One is the private key, which is the key. It's giving you the lock and the key. So it's telling you that you can go and use it where you want. This is a goldsmith. They've given you, you've gone and what you've done is you've gone and bought a lock and a key. You can go and put it in any door you want. Any door you want. This is a lock and a key. Okay. AWS, when you're creating an EC2, will create a lock and a key for you. That's when we are selecting that. And then it will just put the key, the lock where it needs to be, and then gives you the key. So what GitHub wants is that I want the lock. Put the lock on this door for me. Okay. So GitHub is saying that in this repository, if you want to use SSH, where is the lock? So now we've created some. So what we do is we cut the content of the lock, and the .pub is the lock. It says pub, it is public. Anybody, you can give this lock to anybody, because your door, in front of your door, the lock there, everybody can see it. It's not private. It's not, and nobody cares about the lock. Okay, you can see the lock. So it's .pub. So we want that file. We want to cut that file. The .pub, guys, .pub. That's the one that you can share with other people. Okay, you can share with other people. The .pub file. Yeah. And then you enter. This is you see, it actually gives you information about the machine that it was created from as well. You could have changed this information as well. If you wanted to, you could have changed it. When you were running this command, you can pass in some parameters and stuff and change this here, but we didn't. So I'll copy this, go to GitHub, and I'll put this here. Yeah. What I would also do is, because I want to use this key. Okay, no, forget about it now. Yeah. So I'll copy this and I'll put it here. What I'll do is I will also copy the name that I gave it and use it as the name in GitHub. Okay. And I say allow write access. Yeah, of course. Let this, anybody who uses this, the key of this lock, should be able to come in and they should be able to write to this repository. Just this repository, not any other repository. And it will ask you for your, because you're making a change. This change is very important. It says, are you sure, my brother? I said, yeah. Listen, but you didn't set up your MFA, so it's okay. Because this is work, my work, I use this ID for my work as well. So it's asking me for MFA before I make this very important change. Okay, so I put the lock here. Now the key is there. So the key is also here. Okay. What I normally do is that for each project, I also cut this key. First of all, I go to my here and I create a new file and I add the contents and I leave it in GitHub as well. Okay, the key. Shouldn't do that, but this key is only going to be used for this repository. Okay, so sometimes I just leave it there for now, but we will not do that for now. So I'm in there, I've created this key. Now we need to set it up so that it will, when you are going to GitHub, you don't use the HTTP, you use the SSH and you use this key. Okay. And there's a way to do that, which I'm going to show you. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is that we are going to create a config file, a configuration file for SSH. Okay. So here we will do touch. Still, we are in the Ubuntu machine. Yeah. Touch config. Yeah. So we are setting up a configuration file. Okay. And in that configuration file, and then we're going to vim it, vim or nano config file. We've opened the file. Because we are in that Ubuntu, we don't have the privilege of actually editing it here. We have to use a text editor, nano or vim. And in this config file, again, let's go and find as example SSH config file. There. Okay. So what they want you to do is to do this. I think I've done it somewhere before easily. Oh yeah, I know. There it is. Yeah. Okay. So what we will do is we'll go to the machine. We are creating a configuration file for GitHub. And what we'll do is we will just say this. Yeah. Oh. Quit d insert paste. It's not complete. I'll put this in the chat. So it's host. Yeah, host is equal to git.com, and we're going to set our own host. And the path is this, where the file is. Okay. The path is this. So we know where the file is. It's in .ssh. And the file name is, let me save this first and then find the file name. Oh, cut what? Cancel. ls. So the file name that we are using, the key file name is this. So I'll go back in the file, edit it again, and then I'll put the file name. Insert. You need to type I to insert, and then you can paste the file name here. So what we are saying is, I will have to change the host as well. I'll probably will change it to the same as the file name, actually. same as the file name. Is it what I've done? Yeah. Okay. And then I'll escape WQ. Escape colon WQ. Enter. I've saved the file. So if I cut config, this is what you should get, something like this. I'm going to put this in the chat, and all you have to do is to make sure that you are take a copy quick and make changes to the name that you have. Okay. Are we all there? Someone say something.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
I've been lost for a very long time.
Why?
Me too.
Where did you get lost?
I think the whole show.
Well, it will be a video thing because we don't have time. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do this. So remember when we were adding the remote URL? We did git remote -v. Yeah. So let me clear this. Git remote -v will tell you what your remote URL is. Oh no.
So we cannot see your screen again.
Okay. How about now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now I'm going into the repository. Yeah. And when I do git remote -v, it says that this is the URL that you use to connect to GitHub, the HTTPS one. So whenever I do git push, git fetch, git whatever, it's using the HTTPS one. I'm going to change this that whenever I want to use push or git, or I want to use the HTTP, the SSH one. Okay, so I've already added this. So I will go back to here. And this time around, I want to use the SSH one. SSH one. There. Okay, the SSH one. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with this URL in the sense that when I am actually trying to connect, it's using my username and it's using my username. But in our config, we said we want to use a different username, a different host. So when we go back to the machine and we cut config again, which I shared in the chat, okay, you see that the config, 1 minute, the whole show. You want to do DevOps, I think it's easy. You have to know a lot. You go to someone's house and they are chopping and enjoying and say, hey, this guy's got it easy. You don't have any clue. Anyway, so the document I shared, the thing I shared, it has host, okay? And what we've done is, in fact, can I open another? Let me see. Can I SSH again? Yes. So I've opened two shells. I have opened two shells to the same machine, yeah? So I've SSH, I open another terminal and I SSH again. So there's a command that you can find out who has access to your machine, and the command is who. If you type who, you see that I have two sessions connected. Both of them are Ubuntu. Okay, two sessions connected. But the reason I've done that is I want one shell to be able to go into the cd.ssh, and I also want one shell that I'm in the repository. Okay. So if I do this and I cut the config file, the host, yeah, and the URL that we saw, let me open it. Let me open a new file and put the URL here. The URL that we gave us, you see that it has git.com:someone. If you go here, it has git.com, but it's got dash, yeah? So what we have to do is, one minute. Hold on. Let me, before I say anything, let me just be sure. Let me just be sure. Be sure of the URL, yeah? So git.com, yeah, the host, then the colon, wherever we are going. So the colon will start where the repository is, yeah. Colon will start where the repo is. So if I run this now, it's just going to use any default user to go in. But I need to put in this configuration file, I've said this is the host. It's not just this git.com, it's something else. So I need to put dash personalized. So it will go and check the configuration file and say, oh, this host that I'm trying to connect to, this is the file I need to use. So when you run the SSH command or the git command, push command, git will go into the config file and say that, okay, this host, this is the file I need to use. Okay, because you can have multiple files. So that's why you have a config file. Yeah. So I need to then change this and put here this there. Okay, so it says that git use this host, which is in the config file, which points to this key to do your thing. Okay, so now the URL that I'm going to use is now this one. So whenever I want to access GitHub will look at it and say, oh, okay, let me check the config file. It goes, oh, this host is referenced there. Okay, the path to the file that I need to use as a key is here. And then it will use the key, the path, that key, which is already here. Okay, all of this you're doing once, guys, once. It's not every time, because you're setting up an automation, you're setting up things to be easy for you, and also you do it once. But of course, you can automate this as well. You can make sure that this, when you're running, you can run a script and then it will just put this there and it will be easy every day for you. Okay, so now we need to then go and tell GitHub that every time that you want to access GitHub, use this URL that we have generated. The URL has a lot in it. It's saying that this is the host, and then we'll go and find the key and so on and so forth. Now, you need to remove the current remote. Yeah, we are going to set 1 minute, 1 minute. I'm reading. I don't have this in my head. Just like that. Okay, so we checked the remote, didn't we? Where is it? Yeah, and this is the URL. We want to change this URL. And what command did we use the other time? We run git remote set URL, and then we put the URL, didn't we? Remember this, guys? Yeah, but this time around we want to put this URL that we have made changes to. This is the URL we want to set. Currently, this is the URL that is using, which will require my username and password, but we want to use an SSH key. Okay, so we are changing the URL in the backend. And then when we run git -v again, you see that the URL has changed. Okay, the URL has changed. What we have done here is that we have created a key, added the key to GitHub, the public key. So if you go to settings, in the repository you're doing, go to settings, and then you go to deploy keys. We have added the lock, the public key. And in the machine that we want to use to access this, we have also said that in that machine, we created a configuration file, and we are sharing where the key is in the config file by using a host and a path identity file key where it is. This is all going to be done automatically. We'll check this is the host, and we added the host to the link, and we made sure that we changed the GitHub URL. So in the link has all the information. Git didn't have HTTPS to it, so it's using SSH. This is the host. We go and check the configuration file, and this is the repository path. Okay, so now if I do git status, okay, if I do git fetch, see, it's now connecting to GitHub the same way we were when we were connecting to our SSH using our EC2. It asks us for handshake. So now it has actually done the magic in the backend, and it said, "Oh, I need to connect to GitHub, and you are using an SSH key, so we need to do a handshake." I say yes, and now I can push, pull, do everything without my username and password. Okay, I can push, pull, do everything without my username and password. Okay, so if I do git status, it's clean, nothing is there. I can do git checkout -b, and I'll say Bernard testing SSH config. I created a new branch, yeah, and in there I will go to here, vim. Let me see what files we have. Vim, the readme, yeah, the readme file, and I'll say I'll add something. Insert. I'll just say, hey, I'll quit and save. I'm doing all of this not from Cloud9 now, yeah. I'm doing it from the EC2. Okay. In Cloud9, we can do the same configuration so that Cloud9 will not ask you as well the username and password. Okay. So, and then I'll say git add whatever I've changed, git push origin, yeah, origin, and I'm going to push this branch. See, Cloud9 is much better than here because it doesn't even tell you easily what branch you're in here. Okay. And look, I pushed. I didn't even, it didn't ask me for my username and password. And when I go to GitHub, I go to the code, I can actually create a PR. If you go to pull request, there's a new branch, it should be here, Bernard SSH config. There's nothing to change. That's why it's basically telling me that I didn't change anything. Maybe I didn't save the file or anything, but the branch is here. There's no changes between, there's no difference between the main branch and this one for some reason. Maybe I didn't save the file. Okay. I didn't save the file. Or I didn't commit. I didn't commit. Git status. I didn't commit. I didn't commit. Git commit -m. I have committed. In this configuration, I haven't changed. I haven't done the stuff. So one committed status. Yeah. Git push. I don't need to type it again. I can go up 1 yeah. And now if I go to GitHub, it will tell me that there's been some changes. Where is it? Repos there. And there's been some changes because if you don't commit, guys, GitHub will not even, nothing will work. These are the stages that I was talking about. And in that file, I added hey. Okay, I added hey. So, any questions? This will be it for today. I'm going to stop share. Oh, no, let me continue recording and answer the questions. But the idea is that you can use HTTP or SSH. For HTTP, you have to go and create a token, use username and the token every time you have to access GitHub. HTTPS, you have to create a public key and a private key SSH and add the public key to your branch that you're going to access, and then configure your machine to be able to use the private key whenever you do a push or a pull. The configuration is what we went through. It entails creating a config file. It entails creating an SSH keygen, using SSH keygen, and then generating the public key and the private key, and then configuring your SSH with URL and a config file, and then that's it. What I want you to do is I want you to go into the SSH, like here. Everybody can do this now. I'm going to take my time. It's 9:15. It'll take 10 more minutes and we finish. The key that you generated, if you already generated the key, the public key and the private key, you can move it to your Cloud9. Okay. We are going to move these files to Cloud9. Okay. Now, there are two ways of doing it. One, you cut, copy, and paste, create a new file and put it there. So we can actually do that. You go here, create a new file. In Cloud9, you say new file, and then put the file name is this. Yeah. And then you can just open this file, go to your machine, cut the content of the file. And so you cut. I don't know how mine came. And then copy the content. And put it in the new file that you created. And save it. Oh, no. Control S. That's it. But remember, this file, the permissions of the file is not the same as the permissions that where it was created. So you might have to change the permissions. And then you can do the same for the public. So cat .pub. I'll copy the name. Please, everybody do it. Copy the name. And again, go to the root folder like this. And new file. Paste the name. Enter. Open this file. Go back here and copy and do the cut and copy it and put it there. Okay. And then save. Okay. That's one way. The other way, you can just copy, and when you copy, it will bring everything, including the file type, the file permissions, and everything. Is that we would use the copy command that will connect to the machine remotely and move the files. Okay, so but before we do that, we have to move these files to a folder called temp. So I will do cp. I'll do this one and this one, the pub one. Oh no. Oh, what have I just done? Oh, you see what I've done? You need to be careful before you enter. I'm happy that
You've copied it somewhere else.
Yeah. I've literally made a mess here, but it's good. If you cut both of them, they are all, this is the private key. And if I cut the public key, it's also the private key. Because I copied the private key into the public key. Okay. Right. Let's do, at least the private key is still there. So what I'll do is I will vim. It's good that I copied. This mistake I did, don't do that. Vim the public key. I want to put the public key back. And I don't, this is not what is meant to be in this file. It's this. Good that I copied it. It's this, that's what's meant to be in this file. I'll go back, insert, and paste. Yeah. I'll quit and save. Now I have the public key that I need. This is it. Okay. So all I wanted to do was copy. Don't enter. Copy. I told you copy command will copy whatever is in the front to wherever is the last. So I want to copy it to TMP. There's a folder called /TMP. And I want to copy these files to that folder. Why? The temporary folder, the TMP folder, is a folder that is used temporarily. If the machine restarts, everything in that folder will be deleted. It's like your recycling bin. That folder, there's not a lot of restrictions there. So if you put a file there, anybody can have access to that file while the machine is still available. Okay. So I'm copying these two files there because I'm going to use my Cloud9 to go there to move these files. To move a file from the SSH folder and moving it moving it from the temp folder. Temp folder is easy. Okay, it's easy. So I'll move these files to the temp folder. I'll go into the temp folder and then list, and you see that these two files have been copied there. Okay, so now I go to my Cloud9. So this is my Cloud9. Yeah. And in my Cloud9, I'll open a new terminal. And I'll say, I will actually move them. I'll create SSH files. I'll create a folder called mkdir SSH _ files. Yeah. Create a folder called SSH _ files. And then I cd into that folder. So there shouldn't be anything here. Okay. Now, remember when I was connecting to this machine, I used a command. Where is the command that I used? When I was connecting to the EC2 machine, this is the command I used, isn't it? This is the command. And this one will just take me straight to the machine. No ifs, no buts. Okay. But now I want to connect to the machine and copy some files. I don't want to connect and stay there. I just want to go into the machine and take some files. Yeah. And I want to move the files to this location. And the command you need is SCP, secure copy. Secure copy. Okay. The SSH is secure shell. Secured shell. Open a shell, a terminal, secured terminal. Now this one is secured copy. I'm copying, whatever you're copying will come first, and then where you're putting it to will come last. Okay. So basically, I'm copying something from this machine. This is the private key that I want to use. And the private key actually needs to be, I have to put the exact path of the private key. So it is in tilde environment. Yeah. The private key is located in environment folder. Okay. Because remember, I'm in the SSH files. That's not where the file is. I need to put the part of the file that I'm using to connect. And this is it. Okay. Now, I put colon. This is colon or semicolon. Colon, isn't it? Meaning that when I get into the file, the machine, where do I want to go and find these files? And I remember putting it into temp folder. And what are the names of the files? I'll go back there to the machine. And in the temp folder, this is the name of the file. I'm not sure if I can copy two files. Let's see. So this is the name of the file I want to copy. One of the files, yeah? When I copy it, where do I want to put it? I want to put it here, dot. We all know that dot means here, where I am now. My folder, the ssh.files is where I am. So I will enter. And then voila, it's gone. It's copied it 100%. It's here now. If I do ls, the file is here. So this will copy the file as it is, exact copy, and its content and its permissions, everything as it was in the EC2, it will copy it. This is how you copy a file from one machine to the other machine using Linux. Okay. So now I'm going to go and do for the other one, which has pem to it. So the key.pem. .pem. Yeah. And voila. No, it says no such file exists in temp. Is it .pem or -pem? It says the file name doesn't exist. Key. Oh, pub. It's not pem. PUB. I think autocomplete works here too. No, doesn't. And it's gonna copy it. So if I ls-alt, both files are here. Both files are here. Now, in this machine, we did that, didn't we? We did the config file. So what we can do is we can do the same in the Cloud9. So that Cloud9 will also know us as username and password. So what we can do is we can just go to the machine and copy the config file. Where is it? And create the same in the cd.ssh, cd tilde.ssh, and then cat config. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just create a config file in the as well. So in the Cloud9 environment, where's our Cloud9 environment? There. This is this our Cloud9 environment? Let me close. I'm confused. Which one is which? Inception. If you watched Inception, oh, no, not you. New terminal. Okay. Yeah, this is the Cloud9 environment. Okay. I'm confusing. So this is the Cloud9 environment. And the Cloud9 environment, there's also tilde. We will leave everything here. Everything is here. So we have .ssh. No, okay. So cd tilde .ssh. Yeah. Cloud9 environment also have an SSH. And in there are a couple of files there. Yeah. There are a couple of files there. What we can do is we can touch or vim the config file. Yeah. And then we insert, go to the other one and copy the exact same config file. Okay. Exact same config file and bring it to Cloud9. There. Bring it to Cloud9. Yeah. Unfortunately, Vim does this. In fact, Cloud9, I can actually open the file. In Cloud9, I can actually open the file. So let me actually open the file as a open.
Oh my, ghost track any other part.
How do I get to? Cloud9 is trying to tell me that I can't open another folder out of this environment folder. Yeah, home. No, okay, we're gonna have to use Vim, guys. I hate it. Let me see nano config. No, nano doesn't click. Touch config first. Nano config. And then enter. Okay, it's much better in nano. It brings the indentation and everything. Okay, but remember, we need to change the path of this file. The path of this file is not in .ssh. It's in environment. And then, so what I'll do is I'll close it, go and find a part of the file. Yes, and come and edit it. So the path of the file is this. It's in SSH files. Can open a new terminal. Open terminal here. And I'll say pwd. I want the absolute path. So I copy this. Copy. Then go to nano and change the path. So we are saying that look for the file that to SSH in this path. Paste and exit. Yes. Enter. Okay. So we have created a config file in the Cloud9 environment in the SSH folder. pwd. This is the path of the SSH folder. So if you copy this, if you run this cd into this, it will take you here. Okay. I'll put it in the chat. In this location, you need to create the config file. And all of this is happening in your Cloud9 environment. All of this is happening in your Cloud9 environment. You've copied the file from the one is EC2. We brought it here. We want Cloud9 to also access the thing easily. Okay. So let's go back to our environment folder, which is also this path cd home Ubuntu. That's where our working directory is. Yeah. Now we need to go into the personalized folder, and in there, what was the name? Bernard upon personalized greetings. Okay. So we're going to configure that one to say use this. So we go cd Bernard, yeah, git status. Okay. Now if we do git remote -v, these are the URLs. Yeah, these are the URLs. We want to change that to this one. Okay. We want to change that to this one. And the command will be let me close some of these. Confusing. Close. I don't need them anymore. Aha. So this is where I am. The command will be git remote set URL and then paste the URL. This is the current URL that GitHub, whenever you want to access GitHub in this repository, it will use. But we want to change it to SSH. Remember, we're still using the same key we created, so we don't need to go back and add the public key again because it's the same key. So it's one lock for two, and we are setting it up for two machines, the Cloud9 machine and our EC2 machine. Both of them will be able to access this repository easily. Okay, so go back and then I'll say enter. Yes, I think I have set the command is wrong. Okay, let's go and find out. Git remote set URL origin. I left origin, see? Origin. Voila. So now if I check the again -remote -v, see that the URL is this. Yeah. And in the config file, we also said that use this host and also use this path. So now if I do git fetch, it's using SSH. It's now asking me for handshake because now it's using SSH. And handshake is done once. Yeah. It says the file is too public, so we need to change. Could not be read. Permission denied, public key, bad permissions. Remember the permissions that we had issues with. So I think the file didn't bring the permissions that are needed. If you don't set, SSH will fail if you don't set the permissions. So what type of permission do we need to set? I'll just go to Google and find out. Put this error in there and someone somewhere will give me a command to set the permissions. And let me use 400 and see. Let me use 400. Let me just use 400. So go into the folder where we put our and change the permissions of the file. I don't need the Ubuntu anymore, so I'm closing these. Closing this. I don't want to go into the EC2 anymore. Closing. No, don't close this one. Okay, close this one. I can connect back later. Close this one. Okay. Right, let's close this one. No, leave this one. Oh, no, close this one. Yeah. Close this one. Close this one. Let's open a new one. It takes us to the environment. That's our working directory. And then we go to CD SSH files. These are the files. And the permission here, ls-alt. The permission is what? Read write. And SSH doesn't like that. It doesn't like the RW. So you just chmod, yeah, is the command. Change mod. Okay, and we want to do a 400. We learned this from AWS, the command, and I'm just going to change it to 400. And when we check the file again, the permission is now just right. Yeah, it's just right. So GitHub cried because the permission of the file was not correct. Let's see again. Git fetch. Still crying about the permission. Oh my days, I don't want to do this. Bad permissions. Could not read from the file. Make sure you have the correct write access and the repository exists. What's going on? It's still open. Oh, permissions for this file are too open. So what's going on? I think it didn't tell me which permissions it needs. 06. Let's see. Some of the things that you will face. Yep. Okay. 600.
Then you changed only the private key. Public is fine.
Yeah, the public is not being used at all.
Okay.
The keys need to be read-writable only by you. But okay, let's do 600. If 600 doesn't work, then there's something wrong. Okay, I think what's going on here is not the permission. Let me check the config file again. Let me check the config file again. CD, or let's see the file. Maybe the file, this one was copied properly, isn't it? It's the key. The public key is not what we need. Private key is what we need. Cut private key and see. Yeah. End of file, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. ls-alt. Okay. pwd. Okay. Let me copy this. Maybe the config file is the cd tilde.ssh cut config. No, nano config. Nano config. Oh, I actually didn't even add the file name. So I didn't even add the file name. I just put the path there. I see. So the file name that I need is this one. So it's pointing to the folder, not the file. Copy. Nano See, simple mistakes. It's copy is the error was there actually. So it's pointing to the folder, not the file. Yes, enter. And the error was actually saying that the file, this is not what you want. Okay, so git fetch, and voila, we are in. So Cloud9 now can access GitHub with SSH easily without any username and password. And the reason we've done this is that with this, you can then do automation. You can write a script that would go to GitHub and pull the data easily because you've already set up SSH. Okay, guys, today has been a lot. But I'm hoping that you have understood this. I will stop sharing.